This is a podcast episode about how I expect the artificial intelligence to change the world. And given I've built a whole career on making money based on predicting the future correctly, I thought of sharing my predictions on AI. If you are new here, hi, I'm Jim. I'm a 45-year-old professional gambler turned work-from-home sole entrepreneur. And given I'm an internet user since 1995, and I expect artificial intelligence to be a similar revolution like internet, if not a bigger one, I'm keeping a close eye on artificial intelligence news and developments. So yesterday I have been with some parents at a birthday party, and we had this talk about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is going to change jobs and how it's going to affect everyone on the planet. This is not a doom and gloom episode. It's not all bad in artificial intelligence, but this discussion took place just yesterday, so I have a fresh memory of all the discussion. So I thought of sharing what we talked about yesterday on this podcast episode. So the first thing I want to address is whether jobs are really safe or not. Well, I truly believe that jobs are going to change, and several studies online state that at least I think 92% of jobs related to computer science are going to change one way or another. Personally, I believe that many occupations and jobs are going to change, similar to how internet affected all jobs. The similarities between internet and artificial intelligence, I believe, are many. For example, when internet was introduced 30 years ago to the masses, I'm sure many professionals neglected it, ignored it, or thought that it wouldn't affect them in their jobs. But I'm sure that many of you have noticed how your work has been affected, especially if you are in my age or older. So I expect artificial intelligence to have the same effect to the current jobs. I believe that we must not ignore artificial intelligence, but rather adapt to it, since it's not going to go away like internet didn't go away. And now everyone is accessing internet from the palm of their hand. I expect artificial intelligence will be 20 years or earlier, much like how internet evolved, will be accessible with this as well. In fact, it's already accessible on our mobile phones. So what we talked about? The first thing that I had to point out to my friends was that commercial work is going to be mostly affected in the coming years. And the example that I talked about was fashion industry and modeling, since as you see, clothing brands and fashion brands will say that they will introduce a new line of clothing, and they will need some handsome and beautiful people to model for them and try out their clothes, so that photographers take professional photos of them and create advertisements or pamphlets and other marketing material. So artificial intelligence is going to change all that, since the clothing industry will just create AI models, and they will create professional photos out of these AI models wearing the new clothing line they're going to introduce to the market. So since this is already happening, this will not happen, this is already happening as there are coders and programmers and developers who are developing apps that you upload your photo and create similar photos of you in different places and in different poses. And I suppose there are already apps that create AI avatars, how you want them to look. And in fact, there are already personas and influencers on Instagram and on other social media that are exclusively made by AI. They are not real people, but you cannot tell if they are AI produced or they are really humans. So I expect the clothing and fashion industry to adopt this AI workflow and create AI models wearing their new clothing lines and their new clothes, and have professional photographs of them without the need of a professional photographer, without the need of a model posing in a professional studio, and without hiring all these people that go around commercial work in the fashion industry. I'm sure there are other line of work in the commercial photography that will be affected by AI. I have been in love with photography ever since I got my first camera, but since the general trend nowadays toward video, which was expected for many years now. The photography was already on decline, and now the decline is going just to be accelerated by AI, I think. Now, an interesting discussion was that one of the friends there was a legal advisor, and I was very happy. I was very glad that he was quite open-minded. He wasn't one of those people that totally refused AI and didn't expect that his line of work will be affected by this development. In fact, during our conversation, I asked him directly, how do you believe that your work will going to be affected? I didn't even finish my sentence, and he interrupted me saying that, oh no, we are finished. Our work is finished. And I was shocked that he admitted it, and he explained why is that. The first thing he said was that, let's say someone has a car accident. You will just upload the facts, the photographs, the statement of the witnesses, or what you believe happened and what the other person involved in the crash thought that it happened. And then this will be all fed into the AI system, into the legal system that will be governed by AI. And since that all laws are written and there are countless car crashes and car accidents and this type of legal disputes, so the artificial intelligence will have plenty of data to work on and train itself. He expects that the two parties involved in a car accident will just upload the facts, the evidence, and in a matter of seconds or minutes, the AI will come up with a verdict, who is in fault, and who is going to pay the damages or any other legal proceedings that need to be taken. This first example was about car accidents. Then I told him that I expect for more serious cases like murders, that there will be cases where the artificial intelligence will study them and decide that, that in the past it's proven that this kind of defense has been correct by 72%. And the other defense line was wrong by 28%. So the correct legal decision would be based on that 72%. So that's the most efficient line of defense lawyers have to follow for this case, for this kind of cases. So the verdict will be the same as these cases of 72%. So the legal teams will not have a reason to follow any other defensive procedure other than the one that's most efficient. And by following the same defensive procedure, the decisions will be always the same. So AI will, in fact, dictate how each case is going to proceed and what's the final decision on each of these cases. My friend explained another example to me, and he said about the research going on in the legal system. So say you have a case about, there are many cases in the legal system. Say he's responsible for a case, and the case is about a keyword. The keyword can be anything, murder, divorce, car accident, anything like that. He takes that keyword every time. As a legal team, they are buying books, magazines, legal magazines, and everything new that's introduced in the law system into the legal system. They open up these books and magazines at the back where the glossary is found, and they found where this specific keyword is found on that specific book at what pages. So they go back to the pages and copy and paste, say, the part of the book that addresses that keyword of the specific book. And in the end, after studying, say, 5-10 books or magazines, I don't know how many, you come up with a summary of all these laws that you found based on that keyword. Now, this work, he said, that took them about 3 or 4 days. Now, you just enter the keyword on AI, and since the artificial intelligence already has access to all these legal books and all the legal database and all the legal literature and documents, it instantly creates that summary of everything it found about that specific keyword. He told me this took about 4 or 5 days. How fast do you think it will be able to do it? I said minutes. No, he said only 2 seconds. The only thing that I have to do is just enter the keyword, and the AI will come up with everything that I need. I don't know if this is already happening. If there is I'm sure there are a lot of, I'm sure there is someone developing a legal AI tool or app, or it's already somewhere, and someone is already working on that or with that, and they are miles ahead of the competition. And now that I talked about competition, this is another thing. We talked that the companies and individuals who are getting familiar with artificial intelligence currently will be miles ahead with everyone left behind, similar to how the internet evolved. Everyone who ignored internet had a hard time catching up with all these people who adopted and used internet in their line of work as quickly as possible. Having said that, this friend of mine, who's a legal advisor, also suggested a book that he's reading called The End of the Corporation, I think. Yes, The End of Corporations. The book discusses about how corporations are going to minimize their workforce, and they're going to be a lot slimmer. This was not a surprise for me, as I've noticed that everyone, online at least, is evolving into a jack of all trades and a master of none, since we tend to do many things as individuals. Like me, I'm a web publisher who publishes websites, and as long as the website is getting popular on either social media or gets higher rankings on search engine results, I get traffic on that website, and then I sell advertising space. By doing so, I have been a web developer, a domainer, someone who is buying and selling domain names. I am a writer because sometimes I write those articles, and in my personal blog, I'm the only writer. I'm marketing that content. You can say that I'm the marketing director of all the websites that I run and my personal blog. And then I am a social media marketer, since I am marketing and promoting all my content on social media. I'm also now making videos. I'm also becoming an editor, a colorist, a script writer. So you can say that as a jack of all trades, I gather all these skills from different professions and try to become better in all of those. Instead of hiring a writer, instead of hiring an editor, a colorist, a web developer, a programmer, I could hire, of course, and that would accelerate my work. But then you have, as a solo entrepreneur, you have to balance expenses and costs with income and revenue, and whether that makes sense to hire someone so that it takes the work off you and have the time for you to improve something else. And now, as I use that time that I've gained because I hired another person to do that specific work, I have to spend this time making even more money than the money that I have to pay the new person doing the job that I have hired him for. So similar to corporations slimming down their workforce, I expect that every one of us individuals will do a lot more work with the help of the AI, since the artificial intelligence is already helping in project management, in coming up with summaries of projects. I personally use it for in my writing, in ideation. In the filmmaking business, there are already implementations of artificial intelligence, like in the voiceover, where we used to hire a professional actor. I think they are called actors, voice actors, yes. We used to hire voice actors for professional voiceover. Now there are companies that have introduced AI voiceover, where you just type in what you want your documentary or your video in general to say, and then the AI can say what you've written, and you can choose the tone, the voice, the human-like voice you want to speak your voiceover. Similar to the AI voiceover, I'm sure that editing will be AI assisted sooner or later. It's already happening. In fact, this podcast, I could import it into the AI tool, and it could automatically cut all the fluff, all the erms and ums I did, or the empty space between the cuts. and it can actually cut this podcast episode in a matter of seconds instead of me going through all this episode and cutting it myself. Since we are on the topic of filmmaking, there was an article that I've read recently and discussed about how AI is going to affect the jobs in the filmmaking industry. The verdict was that the safest jobs in the filmmaking industry is any job that has to do with humans, like documentaries, weddings, and news. I doubt that news will not be affected, since to me it seems easy for AI to create an AI avatar, for the news corporations to create AI avatars, and you are watching, in fact, an AI generated human-like presenter on screen telling you the news, and this AI created anchorman or woman will in fact dictate from an auto cue the script that will have been written by artificial intelligence itself again. So news is going to be affected, in my opinion. Now, about documentaries, I don't think it will be that much affected. That's why I'm focusing on this style of videos on YouTube. And about weddings, well, I believe you understand why weddings will not be affected by AI, unless you want to make people believe that your wedding had 1,000 guests. So every other job in the filmmaking industry is going to be affected one way or another by artificial intelligence. Another example that we discussed yesterday with my friends about artificial intelligence was health jobs, which I didn't much expect to hear about. My friend told me about a visit he had with an ophthalmologist, where he went to check his eyesight. He discussed with the doctor about artificial intelligence, and the ophthalmologist said, no, I don't believe it. We will be the last ones that are going to be affected by artificial intelligence. And my friend argued back that, what do you mean? You just placed my chin on this machine, and everything else was done by the computer, scanning my eyes and coming up with a report. The ophthalmologist was in disbelief, and he defended his profession, of course, which I expect it's the norm. No one is willing to accept that their job is going to change that dramatically by artificial intelligence. But my friend was pretty sure that health jobs are going to be affected, and I believe that too. And one line of work in the medicine and health industry that I believe is going to change a lot are the jobs involved in I'm not that fluent in English, so how should I explain that? It's the jobs that are about when you go for checkups, for some scannings, when you broke a bone, when you have to do an internal scanning of your organs, and you have the person there telling you after the examination what you have, what's the result of the scanning procedure. I expect in the coming years that we'll enter the room, the booth that we are going to get examined, and there will be no person inside. An artificial intelligence voice will guide us on what we need to do, where we should sit, how we should lie down. The machine will automatically get a scan of us, and it will come up with a result based on a huge database of previous cases, much similar to the legal example I said before, and based on, say, 1 million previous cases, and based on the findings of your specific scan, the machine, the artificial intelligence, will come up with a report that will have high probability of being correct. And the more the machine scans, the better it will get. Like now, ChatGPT is improving itself by us feeding it our data. Other jobs that are going to be affected are accounting, of course, since just imagine the accountants that used to write down all expenses and income and coming up with the reports, writing them by hand on paper, and how their job was changed dramatically, was changed entirely by the internet several decades ago. I expect that artificial intelligence will change their jobs once again, similar to how internet affected them. Although the AI might make some of those jobs extinct, and based on accounting, just imagine that we are going into a world gradually that every transaction of us, everything that's bought and sold online or in physical stores, is going to be tracked is already being tracked, in fact, by banks and by financial institutions. And eventually, it will be tracked by the government and the tax authorities. In the meantime, while we use cash less and less, and cash is going to be extinct, I believe, sometime in the future, and we'll only use our phones to pay bills and buy anything that we want, and all money will be transferred through internet. It's quite easy for machines to have access to that data and come up with our tax reports and we will not need to file our reports ourselves or hire an accountant to do that job for us, since the tax authorities will have everything that they need to calculate our tax return. So, will accountants be used anymore? Maybe, I guess they will be needed in big corporations. But for individuals and for simple tax returns, I suspect that they will be less and less needed in the future. So, is there any kind of job safe in the artificial intelligence future? I think that we all have to adapt. The ones that won't adapt will have the same fate that the people that didn't adapt to internet had in the past. And the older we get, I totally understand that it's getting harder to adapt. Nowadays, young people in their 20s will not have trouble to adapt to the artificial intelligence as it evolves. My daughter is 10 years old, so in 25 years, she won't even be at my current age. And I am scared of how the world will look like to her by then. And that makes me question whether I should teach her anything at all, since the world he's going to live in 25 years from now will be so much different than the world that I'm living now, that my advice might be obsolete by then. Of course, one of the jobs that AI is already affecting is my own job as a web publisher, as I have talked before in a video about how Google updates have changed the way I work and how I have to adapt to the new artificial intelligence world of web publishing.